Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you for coming to the May 30 weekly TradeVision 2020 workshop. For those of you who don't know, and for the recording, this is Ed Carter, and I'm the creator of TradeVision, kind of the architect behind things. Just a few things on the agenda today, so I'll try to keep it down to 45 minutes, and we'll just see where it goes. If you've got questions, I'll try to answer them and stick around if need be. Before we get started, a couple housekeeping items. There's a speaker in your lower left corner. You can adjust your sound there. I've already done a sound check, and I'm pretty sure that the sound is good on my end. If that doesn't work for you, try the red X in the upper right-hand corner and use the reload option. Those two things should handle it for you. If you want to resize the screen, just to the left of center at the top is a blue cross-type icon. You can use that to resize, and you can use the black frame type icon to go full screen. So that should take care of that. Before I forget, son of a gun, let me drag this over there. For any of you who don't know, I started a new blog today. So under Trade Ideas, we now have the TV 2020 trade plans. And essentially what we will do is I will plan out Rick's featured trade idea each day and post a trade plan there for the public. So feel free to tell your friends about it. It shows my take on the chart, not his. Some of the days, these will be my picks. Some of them, they will be Rick's. And today's featured trade was EXAS. I was tired this morning, didn't even recognize the ascending triangle, but it was a piercing candle, and there's the trade plan we planned out. It turns out that due to the market, it just it rocketed, it triggered within the first 5 minutes, and within 2 hours it hit the target for a nice little almost 13% gain. And then there's the follow-up on the trade. So feel free to tell your friends about it, but you can check out the trade plan for the featured trade idea each day here under that TradeVision 2020 trade plans. Let's just close that. And here's the agenda we're going to try to get through today. Just a little follow-up on some of the trades that we planned last week. To be honest with you, I can't honestly remember. Some of these were planned during Wednesday's weekly workshop, and some of these were planned during Thursday's monthly workshop. These were not all the trades plans, but these were the only ones that triggered. I'll also do a quick review of the performance report changes that were made over the weekend, last weekend, over that long weekend update that was released. And we'll answer your questions, and then we'll plan some trades. So let's get started here. That's not what I wanted. Let's just go back here and go there. So the first of the trades was a short, working off this evening star that we planned with a stop up here and an entry there. We had a nice few days, and I moved the stop down when I had this, not really a piercing candle, but at one point during the day I thought it was going to be a piercing candle. So I moved the stop down. I didn't move it to break even, but I moved it down, and it actually got stopped out today. If I go to TradeVision, this is the trade plan. You can see that we entered on the 24th, looking for that, let's see, at entry, looking for that to follow through to become a dreaded H. It was a kind of the opposite of a PBO. It was a PUO, if you will. And we were looking for it to follow through to become a dreaded H. And today kind of took us out of the trade. So was a nice, small risk trade. I think it was, about 32 bucks, 33 bucks. That was the loss because I had moved the stop. So that's not too bad. The next one we want to look at is SIG. And what do we got going on here in SIG? SIG was around the bottom breakout. We had kind of a trader's best friend back here, and we entered again. It looks like the 24th, which I guess that was Thursday. So this would have been one planned on Wednesday. And we didn't chase it at the open, but they came back during the day and we got an entry. It's doing pretty good. I don't think we're quite to the the point of moving the stop yet, but pretty soon I will move that stop up pretty close to break even, and we'll just manage the trade. Looking at that first target, we got pretty close today. We did not hit it though, so we're doing okay. Yeah, I know it has earnings on D-Day, June 6th, and if we don't take out that first target before then, it will be closed, but I'm not going to get out just yet for this particular trade. If you are certainly welcome to do that. This is not a trade recommendation. These are just trade plans. They're meant to be educational, but I do provide trades that you can look at and evaluate for yourself, and that's just what's going on here. So at this point in time, we've got quite a bit at risk down to the stop, and it's about time to move it. I would like to see it hit that target here, and that point I will move the stop up probably just above break even, and go from there. The V stop says that 41.31 is about where the stops should be, so it says that right now we could move it up above. I'm a little more conservative on moving my stops, so depends on how you manage. Let's look at the next one. I guess it was Gov. I don't think it's done much of anything. Yeah, it's moved a little bit here. Again, on Gov, we had an entry on Thursday, and got a little bit of move yesterday, which was contrary to the market, and that's probably because this is a REIT. Yeah, it's a REIT, so it's conservative or safe. But that trend is nice, and it's still working. We've got a doji here, kind of the possibility of a doji continuation pattern, but it is going to need a little pullback here pretty soon. That's quite a number of days bullish in a row. So that's where we're at there, but we're in it, and we're up a little bit on this thing at this point. Plan's still working. We got plenty of time left before earnings, so we got time to let this one work. So that's the three trades that were open from last week. Let's take a quick look at the performance changes. Basically what has happened excuse me, is we have reorganized the reports in the performance widget. So if you go to reports, these are all the embedded reports. Under each of the reports now, each of the categories, if you will, there are basically four breakdowns, or four subcategories, and you can reach them each using the buttons that we've placed here, or by clicking on the menu, or what do I want to call that? On the left-hand frame. I'll just call it that. I'm sorry, guys. My brain is really fried today. That's basically the only thing that we've done. We do have some problems, a couple of them here that need to be cleaned up. For example, the percent category is not under the emotions. We've only got 3 categories there, and the percent is separate, and we will get that squared away. Same thing down here with the percent for the emotions at exit. So those will be cleaned up and taken care of. There are some other little problems that we've been made aware of that need to be cleaned up, but I don't have an answer to them yet, and they're only a problem under certain scenarios, so I'm not going to really get into them. The one thing I do want to tell you is that every time we make updates and add features, there are it's a very complex application, and so they tend to cause issues in other widgets and background processes, and it takes time, but you can rest assured that we are working very, very hard. And in fact, I talked to my second programmer today to see if I can't get him started. For those of you who don't know, we had a little setback and had a couple months without that second programmer I thought we had hired, but I think we're going to get back on track here. I'll talk to him again in the morning. One last thing that I wanted to make you aware of. You've heard me talk about the Trader Vision process. You know I'm all about process, so it starts with goals, setting good goals, smart goals, then selecting trades that meet those goals, validating those trades, planning those trades, managing those trades, analyzing the performance of those trades, and then finding the feedback back to improving your goals. Well, the piece that has been missing is something that we started working on in earnest this week, and that is doing scanning. So we're working on a scanning widget that will be along the lines of the candle scans and pattern scans that we have built in. We will provide scans for an entire number of different scans for candles and patterns. And that will be the first step. The second step after that is complete will be to, in the second phase, allow you to write your own scans, and that will make it a very strong tool. It will be along the lines of TC2000. If you can program in the TC2000 language, you'll be able to read and program in ours as well. And if you decide you don't want to be, you want something specific besides the basic scans that we include, or you don't like the scan logic that we include, we will be able to then to do coding for you to create scans. So that's the secret that Rick was hinting at today, and since he hinted at it, I'll let you know about it. So that's what we've got underway at the moment, and that's where we're headed next, in addition to fighting ongoing bugs and so forth. What else do I want to do? Okay, I guess we've covered old business, if you will. So before we go any further, let me ask if you've got questions. If so, I'll be happy to answer them if I can. I see nobody typing, so that's great. We'll just go on and plan some trades. So let's look at some trades. Let me get these out of the list, the ones that I've already looked at. We've got 4 trades here that I kind of liked. One of them was something that Steve suggested right at the end of the day, but and I liked the chart the same way he did. But some of these others I liked as well. I've been looking at GoDaddy for quite a while as a pop out of the box candidate, and today it popped out of the box. This looks to me like it would be a good entry. Let's move this up here. That's going to be my first goal. That's going to be my second goal. And that's going to be my trend. Let's do like this here. That's the kind of trend that I'm looking at. I'm going to have an entry. If we get a good price tomorrow, I'm not going to chase if it runs, but if I can get a good price, that's what I'm looking at in terms of an entry. And probably right down like that. So let's see what that trade plans out like. Looks like we've got 5 bullish factors, 1 bearish factor. That's going to work. So let's just look at what this would plan out to be. Let's say that the entry is about 72.10. We get a little early morning retest. And we've got 75.25 first target. And about $77 second target, and about 80.25 third target, with an initial stop of about 70.30. Let's see what it tells us here. It tells us we can do 69 shares. Let's try 100, see what happens. It's going to probably tell us it's too big for this. Yeah, 5.5%. Okay, let's try 75. $4% of the account. I can live with that. $135 risk. If we were to sell 25 at each target, let's see what that would do for us. At the first target, we're getting less than 2 to 1, so that may not work. Let's try 25 at the other target and 25 at the third. See what this plan looks like. I don't know if I did a weekly chart here. Yeah, I did. So that is a clean chart. Those are where I would put my goals. And we can make the goal on this trade if we hit all 3 targets. So it's going to take a continuation of this long-term trend. And I see no reason for that to break, but it's going to take that continuous. It's going to be a longer-term trade. We do have plenty of time. Got 2.5 months or 2 months and a week, something like that. to reach that goal. So looking for the trend to work, that's what I would be looking at, and I think that's a trade for a longer term trade, possibly even an options trade, without looking, that might be worth your consideration. So that's a good trade to look at on GoDaddy. What was another one? Wage. I think we planned wage the other week. It's just one that triggered today. No sense in looking at that. CRSP is one that I had laid out for Rick. Talked to him about it earlier today. First of all, we got a nice trend working. It is a biotech, so you've got to be aware of that. Secondly, we've had 2 consecutive mat hold type signals. I consider that to be significant. So let's draw in where we would put some support and resistance. Let's see what a 5-day or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're at all-time highs. Let's draw in some fibs. There's the fib run that I would draw. 23.6 pullback, so the first target is going to be up here at the 38. So let's just say it's a one target trade. On an entry here, where are we going to put our stop? V-stop says we should put it about 66. Wow. 66.02. That's too far for me. I'm probably not going to put it any lower than about here. And even that, I can see that's not going to give me 2-to-1. So maybe CRSP is not going to work. It's probably because of the biotech in these big days, these wide-ranging days. You know, that day is wow, 25% range, 20% range anyway. This is another 15%. A mat hold signal is one of the candle signals. You can look it up on the website or Google it. But essentially, it's a strong bullish day followed by 3 small body days. Typically, you would like to have smaller wicks, but it's 3 small body days followed by the 5th candle is another strong bullish day. So basically, it's a strong bullish day, 3 indecisive pullback days, and then a strong bullish day. And it did that twice in a row here. The difference between a mat hold and a rising 3 methods is that on a mat hold, this is a mat hold for sure. The bodies are all within the body of this first candle. So these 3 indecisive days are bodies all within that indecisive candle. This one is a rising 3 methods because this body and this body and this body fall outside the size of this first candle. So we got a mat hold, then we've got a rising 3 methods, and those are kind of loose interpretations, if you will. But they are bullish signals, and they are obviously that particular pattern in play. Let's look at STLD, which was one that Steve pointed out today. Steel Dynamics doing a nice flag here and put in kind of a Morningstar type. Not textbook, that's for sure, but kind of a Morningstar type here. And let's see how we would plan this out. So let's say that we've got a stop there and an entry. Where would you enter, Steve? What kind of trade plan are you looking at? I'm thinking right along this shelf of these bodies and that low, which is the 23.6 pullback, makes for a nice buy. And my first target is going to be up here at the 23.6. Any thoughts on that? Got no long-term history here to show us anything, so that's going to be a good plan in my point of view. So let's make that a green entry and this a red stop, and let's see what that looks like then. STLD. So it reported 418. You can see the flag. We see that the pullback opportunity working for us. Hoping for a J hook here. Got 4 bullish factors and 2 bearish factors, being the short-term bias has been down and the long-term market bias is screwy because of this consolidation and choppiness we've had. But let's look at this as one entry, one exit. Let's say that we enter, let me move this over so I can see. Let's say that we enter at 50 bucks with a stop down here. Let's make it about there, 46.50. What does V-stop tell us? V-stop says 50.45, so it hasn't flipped yet. So I'm going to leave it about 46.50. And the first target is up here. Let's call it 54.10. Or I'm sorry, yeah, 54.10. Tells us that we can only do 35 shares. That's way too small. Let's try 50. Loss is a little big, but that's okay. If we were to get that first target, which is the 23.6 extension of the run, what would that do for us? Only about 205 bucks. So for a small term trade, short term trade that's not going to get your goal with this particular goal. If you have your own goal that's different, could certainly work. A larger account could mean more shares, could get you to your goal, but what am I doing wrong here? $54.20, 50 bucks. Oh, that's the problem. That should be 48.60, let's call it. Much better. And that will get us up to, let's try 100 shares. Still under 4%. That helps. There we go. That's what I was screwing up with. So there's that STLD plan. I think Steve's on to something here. I like that a lot. Again, buying on the positive open, coming up above these candle bodies there, and the lower wick there. So basically the 23.6 retracement of the original run. Fairly tight stop. And below the low here, body of the low. And then the 23.6 extension is the first target. Do we have any questions about that? We can make our goal. We get almost 3 to 1. And we have less than 4% of the account at risk, with enough time to make this work. Any questions? I don't see anybody typing, so GoDaddy, what is the ID? Of course. The percentage is only about 4.4% to the first target on the GoDaddy trade. That's about right, 4.5%. Depends where you can get, if you get a inside day buy there or not. So that's when it's a little iffy. I don't like that first target is really less than 2. And I really can't get to 3 to 1 till I'm way up there. So not a real fan of it, but it is one that was pointed out, and I wanted to plan it out for us. I guess we pulled back on this. Hamilton Lane was one that I had looked at earlier today and liked. Beautiful trend. We keep bouncing up off that trend line. Morningstar type signal, and at one point today we were a J-hook breakout. We pulled back, so I would probably look at this one as a breakout trade since we bounced down off that today. So looking to buy in here with a stop probably off of these highs here. That kind of level there is going to be my stop. And I'm going to be looking at, I don't think there was anything on weekly on this one. Yeah. I'm going to be looking at, at least up in here is my first target. Let's make this sucker green, and let's do a little trade plan. I'm going to check another source with that. LNE earnings. Ah, darn. Okay. It's expected to report 6.7. So we're going to pass on this one, I guess. That's a shame. That looked like a pretty good trade. Roger, because that's where it lays out. You don't you don't assign your targets on what you want. You assign them on what you expect to be happening. I expect that we'll find some resistance. We had a 23.6 pullback of this run. I expect, my experience has shown me, that we will find resistance around that 38.2 extension. Could I be wrong? Could it run on up here? Absolutely could. Anything could happen. But I'm not going to assume that it will happen. I'm going to work off of my only indicator I have for an all-time high, which is fibs. And the fib extension, for me, for a 23.6 pullback, is going to be a 38.2 extension. And I'm not taking the full trade off there. I'm only taking part off. I'm always taking profit, always moving my stop. That's how I manage trades. So it's always going to be to my benefit. I'm always reducing risk and putting money in the bank. I see you typing, so I'll hang on for a sec. Oh, you're more than welcome. Glad to help. I'm not going to do EXAS. You can look at that one on the website. That was a beauty today. VSH is another one that's set up. I think we planned this a week or two ago. But it is a nice pop out of the box. You could, if you squinted, you could say that that's a little J-hook. But looking for a breakout here with a tight stop, and that would give us I think it was about, let's see, so that's almost 10%, and that's a little under 4% stop, so that would work. So let's pull up another plan for it. VSH. It reported 5.8, so that's out of the way. Let's just look at one target. So let's say that we've got a 21.80 purchase with a 21, let's call it, stop. And the first target up here about 23.80. We can do 150 shares without trouble. It's probably going to be pretty small. 2.5% of the account. Let's just jack it on up to 200. If we did 200 shares, still only 3 1/3% of the account. And if we made that just one target based off of previous high resistance there, we'd get a little over 9%, and that would give us 2.5 to 1. So that would be a doable trade. And again, I think that's something it's worth looking at, and you might be able to just take part of it off there and let the rest of it ride and see where we go at all-time highs. You could also look at this. If you got the 61.8 instead of this, that's going to give you a little bit better trade, and a second target up here about 25.75 or so. That would probably work. So if we added a target, what did I say, 25.75? knock this down to 100, and you take another 100 here. That would work pretty well. So you get that first 200 bucks in the bank, move your stop up to protect yourself, and see if you can't ride that second half of the trade for a nice little gain. Okay guys, we've planned out several trades here. I've told you about the blog. I've asked for questions, showed you the performance reports, and we followed up on last week's trades. Is there anything else that you guys would like to ask? Any other questions you might have? Okay, great. We'll get out of here on time. I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Don't forget to check out the new blog on the website. It's under Trade Ideas, TV 2020 Trade Plans, and that should be out in the morning before the market opens. Again, thank you so much for your time, and you all have a great evening. Enjoy the spring weather.